Hi, I'm Vera and welcome to our video. I'm glad you joined us for our next bike trip.
And I'm Slow Spaghetti. Today we're starting out in the beautiful but underrated city of Murcia in the southeast of Spain.
We'll be heading north into the mountains and I'm really excited to see what we discover. So, let's do this! As we were leaving the city, preparation for Murcia's annual Spring Festival were in full swing. It wouldn't be long before this already vibrant place would explode into a riot of color. We've experienced the spectacle before, so the slides you're seeing here are from last year's festivities.
Murcia knows how to throw a party. Tradition meets celebration in the best possible way. And if that wasn't enough, the city's packed with stunning architecture and lively plazas. But we had something else in mind. We were after peace and quiet.
And for that, a big city isn't exactly the ideal place to be. Luckily, in Spain, most people live in urban areas, which means you don't have to go far to find solitude. So, let us show you where we went next.
Heading due north out of the metropolitan area, we passed through Fortuna, known for its thermal baths, and then nothing but open space. The route took us through the Sierras de la Pila and del Carte, not passing a single town until we reached Yecla, the northernmost town in the region of Murcia, just over 100 kilometers away.
Now, we often dive into the history and culture of the towns we visit. But since this channel is mainly for cycling enthusiasts, here's something you might appreciate. Murcia has a surprisingly good network of bike paths, and there are several ways to leave the city by bike. You can follow the Rio Segura or take the Via Verde del Noreste, on which we recently made a video.
We didn't follow a marked cycling route this time, we planned our own path, but still had no trouble finding a safe and straightforward way out. Of course, providing you're paying attention and don't miss your turn. That said, heading straight north means climbing out of the Segura Valley and up into the limestone hills. But the payoff? A sweeping panorama that makes it all worth it.
Straying from marked cycling routes sometimes means sharing the road with traffic. But in Spain, drivers are generally considerate and give plenty of space when overtaking. So, while we prefer quiet country lanes, it's usually nothing to worry about.
The real upside to going off-route? You're constantly exploring unfamiliar territory, never quite knowing what you'll stumble upon.
Murcia is one of Spain's fastest growing regions, and you really notice that as you ride. Construction cranes dot the skyline, and new suburbs are springing up all around the city. But what really caught us off guard were the gated communities.
Now, that's something you might expect in countries with sharp social divides or higher crime rates, places like South Africa, Brazil, or Mexico. But here in Spain, it felt a little out of place. These weren't luxury villas behind the gates either, just average middle-class homes.
Sure, Spain has its share of poverty, like any country, but it's not known for extreme inequality or unsafe streets. And speaking from experience, we've never felt unsafe anywhere in Spain, even in the most remote or run-down areas we've cycled through.
So we couldn't help but wonder, are these gates really about security, or just a sense of it? Some say they don't stop crime, they just make people feel safer. We're not here to debate that, but for what it's worth, we rolled right through the security checkpoint without anyone batting an eye. Gated? Maybe in theory. In practice, not so much. After all that urban sprawl and passing rows of half-finished houses in the middle of nowhere, likely the result of speculative investors gone bust, a common sight in Spain, we were relieved to roll into Fortuna. With its more traditional architecture and slower pace, the town of around 10,000 residents offered a welcome change.
It's not really on the radar for cyclists, since no official route leads here. But Fortuna does attract visitors, mostly thanks to its hot springs, bubbling up from a fault line at a steamy 52 degrees Celsius. Not exactly a place to cool off in the scorching summer heat, which can be brutal around here.
For us, though, Fortuna marked the edge of the unknown, the gateway to the peace and quiet we were searching for. Or so we thought.
Cycling is that you can go pretty much anywhere. It doesn't have to be a marked route. Any small wide road on the map will do just fine. But this one turned out to be one of the most dangerous stretches we've ever ridden. We had no idea it would be a mountain highway for a convoy of lorries winding their way uphill.
The atmosphere was surreal, but we kept going, somewhat reluctantly, curious to find out what all this traffic was about. After a tough crawl up the hill, we passed through another checkpoint, this time not for a gated community, but for a massive quarry.
The trucks were busy collecting sand, gravel and crushed stone. Saoras, from Jurassic-era grey dolomites. In other words, the raw materials for all those new homes we'd seen earlier on the outskirts of Murcia. So, before we could finally embrace the serenity we've been seeking, we had to make it through this unexpected obstacle.
Of course, technically, we probably weren't supposed to be up here. But no one stopped us until we reached the far end of the quarry. Then a man finally approached and asked us what we were doing. But when we showed him our route, he was surprisingly relaxed, pointed the way, and wished us good luck with the steep gradient that lay ahead.
A few growling dogs tried to block our path, but a couple of chunks of sausage thrown in the right direction settled that. And then, at last, we were free. Civilization fell away behind us, and we entered a wild, untamed world of natural beauty.
The effort it took to get up here had truly paid off. We found exactly what we were looking for: peace, quiet, and complete solitude as we made our way through the Sierra de la Pila Regional Park, without a single car or person in sight. With such perfect weather, we couldn't help but wonder why we were the only ones enjoying it.
Still, signs of human life and leisure weren't missing. This clearly wasn't some forgotten corner. A large picnic area hinted at more sociable days, complete with tables, benches, barbecues, an information hut, and even running spring water trickling from a stone wall. The sign warned it wasn't suitable for drinking, though the presence of taps seemed to suggest otherwise. And someone had taken the time to hang up nesting boxes for birds, with hand-painted names that gave each a little personality of its own.
And they even have a pitch for tents here. I think you need a permit. I'm not quite sure what this means. Autorización? I don't speak Spanish, so... And anyway, it's deserted here. There's nothing but trees and wind and a couple of birds surrounding us, so we really couldn't resist.
And you have to agree, the tent does look very much at home here, doesn't it? And I'm really looking forward to a peaceful night under starry skies.
But as long as we clean up and don't leave any traces, I think we'll be fine. Cycling along these empty roads gave us the feeling of being pioneers, the first to explore an unknown territory. And truth be told, as far as bike travelers go, we might well have been the first to cycle out here. But we were no pioneers. In many ways, we were following in much older footsteps, or rather, hoofprints.
Out here in the wilderness, we crossed paths with the shepherd and his flock, quietly moving through the landscape as they've done for centuries. It's a practice called transhumance, the seasonal migration between lowland winter pastures and highland summer grazing grounds. Once widespread across Europe, it faded with modern life. But in Spain, it's still very much alive.
In fact, some of the paths we'd been following belonged to an ancient network of drovers' roads, the Cañadas Reales. More than 125,000 kilometers of protected trails dating back to the Middle Ages, established by royal decree to ensure safe passage for livestock.
This wasn't just a tradition. It was a way to care for the land. Grazing animals helped maintain balance in the ecosystem, spreading seeds, preventing overgrowth, and keeping the land healthy and diverse. And here we were, rolling through the same landscape, grateful beneficiaries of that balance.
So this is where ancient sustainable agriculture and modern-day eco-friendly travel met and greeted each other in quiet recognition. Far from tourist crowds or city life, just us our bikes, a shepherd, and a herd of sheep.
After Torre del Rico, Raspe was one of exactly two villages we passed on the 70-kilometer stretch between Fortuna and Yecla. There are no shops out here, so carrying enough provisions is essential if you want to survive traveling like this. That said, we could easily have stocked up on the local red wines. Deep in color, earthy in complexity, made from monastrell grapes, a hardy variety that thrives in the hot, dry climate and poor soils of the region.
As we weaved along the border between Murcia and Valencia, we found ourselves in a little known but productive wine growing area with a protected designation of origin. There are no industrial wine factories. Many of the vineyards are small scale, family run estates where winemaking traditions have been passed down through generations. This is wine grown with care and history. in a landscape shaped by centuries of agriculture, where the vines stretch out endlessly beneath wide, open skies.
Cycling off the marked routes sometimes takes courage. When we set off, we only had a vague idea of what to expect. What would the roads be like? The gradients? The scenery? Would it be dangerous? Would we feel lonely?
Sure, making our way out of the city and through that treacherous quarry hadn't been easy, but the journey turned out to be deeply enriching and unexpectedly fulfilling. We saw a side of Spain few ever think about, let alone experience.
Let's be honest, when people think of Spain, they imagine the cultural hotspots at Pest. But more often, it's beach resorts, crowded nightlife, and battling for a square meter of sand. But if you're into raw, real nature, if you're looking for space to breathe, to clear your head, to find moments of stillness and perspective, this is the way to go.
You never quite know what breathtaking view is waiting around the next bend, or what odd little surprise might greet you along the way. But what you won't get is crowds, traffic, or noise. Spain is surprisingly empty the moment you leave the well-trodden paths and tourist magnets. And with generally smoothed, well-maintained roads, it's ideal for cycling, especially in spring or autumn, when the temperatures are moderate and the colours vivid.
Just let's keep the secret within the cycle community. We didn't miss the yellow number plates, towing caravans up narrow mountain roads, or the roar of oversized motorbikes cutting through the quiet.
After all that serenity, arriving in Yecla felt almost like entering a metropolis. But of course, with just 35,000 inhabitants, it's far from bustling. Historically, it was little more than a regional trading post for wines, olives, almonds and grains. Then in the 19th century, woodworking flourished, and today Yecla is known for its furniture industry.
But we'll remember it for something else entirely. For its colorful churches, its quirky love of Playmobil, and the way children spill into the streets to turn them into playgrounds as night falls. One last unexpected twist in a journey full of surprises. Well, this was an adventurous ride, full of variety. We cycled 106 kilometers. What was your favorite part? Have you ever cycled this route before? Please share your experiences and thoughts in the comments below.
And if you've enjoyed this video just as much as we've enjoyed this ride, please hit the like button. And if you would like to see more inspirational videos for cycling routes, don't forget to subscribe.
So we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then,
Thanks for watching and happy
bye-bye.
cycling. Bye-bye.